Cal and Gloria Roberts. In 1974, while living in Idlewild, California with Gypsy Lady and her two beautiful children, I met Cal and Gloria Roberts. These two people have redirected my travels more times in 32 years than my brother David. In fact, brother David never really redirected my journey, he just added to it. Cal and Gloria redirected the journey like a detour sign popping up in front of a Greyhound bus doing 90 miles an hour down a mountain road. Cal is a Pulitzer Prize winning photojournalist. Gloria is his wife, and one of the most beautiful women that ever walked on the face of this earth. Her spirit is more than mankind will ever be able to comprehend. Cal is probably one of the most creative geniuses I've ever met. His journey has been more interesting than anyone I've ever known. I think we have lived more lifetimes together than we will ever uncover. Debbie and I drove up to Cal and Gloria's house on Fatherland Street in Nashville, Tennessee. They were so glad to see us. Debbie had never met these folks, and she liked them a lot. That evening, Cal drove us out to see the new Opryland Hotel. It was unbelievable. It had a huge indoor garden. We walked and talked and roamed through this beautiful new hotel until we came to a bar. In front of the bar, in this indoor 5-acre garden, was a patio, and on a small stage in the middle of the garden was a beautiful, large concert harp. Lloyd Lindruth is the only harpist I know. I went to a hotel phone, and I called the front desk and asked for Lloyd Lindruth's room. They rang a room, and a voice answered and said, "Lloyd here, may I help you?" I said, "Who can sing They Call the Wind Mariah better than anyone you ever heard?" He said, "John Hillegas, where are you?" I said, "Standing beside your harp." He said, "Don't move, I'll be right there." When Lloyd walked up, he threw his arms around me and then stood back to take a look at a grizzly, bearded Mountain John. He said, "Where's that skinny little 16-year-old kid from Oklahoma?" I said, "All grown up, Lloyd." We talked a while, and Debbie and Cal and Gloria got to meet Lloyd. Lloyd invited me back to sing on any Friday night with his band, and I told him I would call in a couple of weeks. We got back to Cal and Gloria's, and Dr. Cricket called. He said he was with a group of Cherokee kids who were going to ride bicycle from Cherokee, North Carolina to Tahlequah, Oklahoma along the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears is the name that was given to the movement of the Cherokee Nation from North Carolina to Oklahoma. That took place when the United States government decided all Native Americans should be living in Indian Territory, which became the state of Oklahoma. The Cherokees were fairly rich and had plantations, and they owned land in the South. They were educated and had their own alphabet. They were not hunters and warriors like the Western tribes. The government herded these people up like cattle and drove them on foot over 1,000 miles across this country, fed them horse feed and very little water, and kept them at gunpoint all the way. The people who became weak and sick were shot and buried along the way. Andrew Jackson put them up in a corral on his place in Nashville and fed them horse and cattle feed. We can bitch and cry all we want about the atrocities of what Hitler did, but our army generals were never tried and convicted for what they did to the Native Americans. Ain't it amazing what we did to settle the United States? Well, these kids had their chief with them, and my brother, Dr. Cricket, had helped organize the trip, and they were going to camp as close to the burial sites as they could each night in memory of the great-grandparents who died along the trail. Dave wanted me to meet him at one of the camps outside of Nashville, about 40 miles south and east, to sing around the campfire for these kids. I took off and headed that way with Debbie and the scallywag. Cal and Gloria followed in their van. I believe nephew Brian and his wife Brenda met us there also. What a great campfire that was. We sang, and these children told stories that had been handed down to them by their parents about the pain and the suffering and also the babies that were born along the trail. We parked the vans and trucks in a meadow that night, and the spirits of the great-grandfathers watched over us in a very peaceful way all night. Everyone's minds were following the trail and beginning to understand the suffering caused by racial prejudice and greed. We all became aware of the corrupt dealings that came down by our own government during those terrible times for these gentle people. My gift had led me and my loved ones to another successful night of entertainment. People who measure success by the amount of money or life insurance and material things they accumulate in their lives are very short-sighted and insecure in their own identities. I don't need any of those things to be successful. All I need is my gift and dreams. Society will never understand magic and dreams. They say people like me need help because we have mental problems. Bullshit. We have the freedom and wisdom to see the world as it is. We were given a beautiful world to live in, and we need to enjoy it and protect it and go see it. Do you have any idea how many people have never traveled across this great nation to see it? Believe me when I say a 2-week vacation every summer is not enough to even touch the tip of the iceberg. I should be a tour guide and take people across this magnificent land to see the real beauty. Not Disneyland, not the NASCAR races, not the Mardi Gras, not Times Square, the blue highways of America. Don't take the interstate, take the back roads. See it before it's gone. Breathe it, feel it, touch it. It belongs to you. Our government stole it for you. Enjoy it. The next night we were in Nashville. The kids had been invited to Opryland Park and put up in a campground with a shower house. They were happy and had no idea Opryland could have put them in hotel suites with jacuzzis. They were given a picnic lunch on the lawn of Andrew Jackson's mansion, not far from the stockades that their ancestors had been kept in, and Conway Twitty hosted us one night at the famous Twitty City. A phone call came from William Lee Golden, the man with the long beard with the Oak Ridge Boys, and we were invited to camp on his farm. What a magical night that was. William Lee had a huge teepee in his backyard, big enough for all of us to get in with a campfire. We burned sage, and the children shared their stories, and William Lee told stories, and Dr. Cricket told stories, and I sang. The next day, the kids and Dr. Cricket pulled out for the rest of their journey to Oklahoma. We had been touched by a chapter of history that had not been told by our public school history books. I'll never forget those magic stories with those Cherokee children and their chief, Wilma Mankiller, and my brother David.